Welcome to the Earning Freedom Program, the Success After Prison program. I am Michael Santos with michaelsantos.com and prisonprofessor.com, producing another episode in this effort to read Success After Prison: How I Built Assets Worth $1 million within 2 years of release from 26 years inside, and how you can succeed too. So we're now at the 26th episode. I'm on page... Let me just give you a recap here. I've been reading this book for the past 26 days. I'm on page about 130 or so of the book. I'm coming close to the end of the book. And if you're tuning in for the first time, I just want you to know it's really simple to get the earlier versions if you'd like. They're available all through my social media, whether it's YouTube or iTunes or Facebook. I hope that you'll subscribe to any of those episodes so that you will help me continue to spread this message of hope and inspiration to people who are living in struggle. I am really proud and honored to be able to produce these episodes on DVDs and CDs and send them into jails and prisons to inspire the people that I really care about. And those are people who are locked inside of those institutions. I feel a sense of duty and a responsibility to inspire those people so that when they can pursue a pattern that will help them transition into society successfully. And the reason I feel so really determined and responsible for wanting to share that message is because I made some really bad decisions when I was 20 years old. As a consequence of those decisions, I was locked in prisons of every security level, and I served 26 years inside. But because I received this message from people that I considered to be masterminds, I think people that the world over considers to be masterminds, I really feel it's important for me to share it with people who are locked up. Because if I don't, they're going to continue to get a very negative message. From the system, they may perceive a message that is, you've got nothing coming. And from the others who are serving time with them, they may perceive a message that to adjust in prison in the type of way that will give them some habits and patterns of behavior that, although it may condition them well to live in prison, when they come back to society, they'll find that those patterns and skills that they learned during their adjustment in prison results in a continuing cycle of failure out here. I want to give them something different. I want to give them a mastermind program. I mean, today I spoke with an individual that I hope to profile on the show, and he served a lot of time in the penitentiary system. He was in state prison in Walla Walla State Penitentiary, and when he got in trouble for some breaking some rules there and some violence, they sent him to Pelican Bay, and then he went through the system some more, and they ended up going to Marion, which is at the time was a SHU program, 24-hour lockdown or 23-hour lockdown, before he got out. Now he's really successful in society, and he was telling me about his mindset when he was serving time. What he'd said was that, he was just adjusting to the prison the way that he perceived it was important to adjust to the prison. And it wasn't until he got out the last time that he grew a little older and he realized he's just got to stay away from the criminal lifestyle and stay away from people who were involved in it in order to get his life back on track. And now he's been free for about 17 years, I think. And he's got a positive message to share. But had he received that message early, when he was the beginning stages of his journey, then he may have made decisions that wouldn't have resulted in him going to a high security penitentiary or resulted in him going to Pelican Bay or to Marion. But instead, he could have learned a different way of adjusting to the prison environment and come back successfully. That's why I feel so passionately about delivering this message, because I got it, made a huge difference for me through my journey in prison, and it really made a big difference in me coming back to society. I've only been back for less than 30 months, and yet I have a lot of opportunities that few people would have thought possible for somebody inside. And so I want to continue reading the story. As I said, I've been reading this book in 20-minute episodes, and I'm currently on in chapter 9. And so let me just continue reading. In the previous chapter, I was talking about moving from our home in San Francisco, where I initially launched my life after 26 years in prison, and I moved down here to Orange County. So I had been teaching as a professor up in San Francisco just before I moved, and that's where I continue on with the story. So let me read. After teaching my final class at San Francisco State University in May of 2014, Carol and I loaded our Chevy Aveo to make the 7-hour drive south to Newport Beach. Now, earnings from books I wrote while I was in prison provided resources that Carol needed to live while she advanced through nursing school, and those earnings also allowed her to purchase the small 4-cylinder Chevy Aveo. And the car brought a lot of memories for both Carol and me through our journey. I mean, I remember waiting on the prison yards because I did my last portion of my time in minimum security camps, and from the camp I could see my wife as she drove in, and I remember standing out there watching as her little silver Chevy Aveo drove up on visiting days. And then I started when I got out of prison and I got my driver's license, I had to get a car. I remember what Lee, my mentor, told me. He asked what type of car was I going to buy, because he knew that Carol and I would need to have 2 different cars. I mean, Carol was a full-time nurse and I was going to the halfway house and commuting, so I'd need a car. But the tone of Lee's question, it told me a great deal. Although I wanted to buy a nice car and I had savings in the bank, wasting money on an impressive car wouldn't really be prudent. For one thing, blowing resources on a high-end car at that stage of my release would not have endeared me much to Lee. In fact, I'm sure he would have lost respect for me if I would have purchased an expensive car. He would have lost respect for my judgment anyway. Successful people like Lee or Tim, the guy who offered me the job that I was coming to Orange County to work for, they were always calculating. They were always assessing. And our daily decisions determined whether people like Tim or Lee would want to invest their time, their energy, or their resources in helping us grow. So my message here is that we can always learn lessons from the ways that successful people think. And I learned that it's best to be frugal, it's best to be responsible, it's best to make something of your life before you try and create this illusion that you have made something in your life. So the Chevy Aveo was fine, and as soon as I got my driver's license, I purchased a used Ford, I think it was a Ford Escape, but probably 12 years old. And I remember we paid $4,000 in cash, so we wouldn't incur any wasted debt like a car payment. And that decision, I think, met Lee's approval, because I suspect that it had a lot to do with Chris and Seth agreeing to finance the first house we had purchased. Had I bought a new, Porsche or Mercedes or, fancy sports car, they might have looked at me as not such a good credit risk, because I was more into flash than I was into substance. And I'm encouraging you, if you're working through the Earning Freedom Mastermind program, if you're trying to become successful after prison, don't be about the flash. Be about the substance. So when I left, we left the Ford Escape with a friend to sell on consignment, and we drove our little Chevy Aveo south on Interstate 5. The car wasn't made for long trips, and it certainly wasn't going to blend in too well in this upscale, Tony community of Orange County where we were going to live. But fortunately, Carol shared this vision with me. I mean, we were both after long-term stability, and we both would work toward those goals each day. And in the pages to follow, I'm going to describe some of the ways that I supplemented my income and contributed to our stability. See, when we left the San Francisco Bay Area, we had about $100,000 equity in the home that we left behind, and another $100,000 in savings. It wasn't a bad position to be in, considering that my prison term had ended only 10 months previously. But rather than splurging on luxuries, we just chose to focus together on the $1 million net worth that we intended to build by August of 2018. And that's what I want you to be thinking about. Always envision the end game, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to build. Don't get caught up in little decisions or in decisions that are going to derail your success. Always focus on the end game, on what's important to you. And that harkens to that message I gave in an earlier lesson and that I teach in the Earning Freedom Mastermind course. It's identify your values first. Figure out what your avatars will expect from you and determine whether you are truly committed to living in accordance with what they're going to expect from you. Those are the values that are important. Then set clear goals that reflect your commitment to those values. And when you do that, that's when you're really advancing. That's when you have the strength within to tune out any type of temptation that's going to derail you. make sure that you recognize the importance of how your decisions are in alignment with the values and the goals that you say, not me, you say are going to define your life. At least that's what worked for me. So Carol and I arrived in Orange County just in time to celebrate Mother's Day with my mom and my grandmother. And Carol and I treated them to brunch. It was the first time that I was going to be able to have a brunch or celebrate a brunch with my mom and my grandmother after so many years in prison. And so I want you to know that these days are going to come for you as well. And I just want you to be in the best possible mindset and spirit. And I want you to earn the way so that when those opportunities open for you, you are in a position to really seize them. And I mean everything here. I mean seizing a relationship, that you can have a great job, that you can have stability in your life, and that you can enjoy time with family because you've earned the right to be with family. You've demonstrated your respect for them and your admiration for them, and you've shown through your behavior in prison that you truly want to be one with them and back in society. So when I got down here, Tim, my employer, he tasked me to work in the communications division of his well-staffed organization. And he owned a number of businesses that cumulatively generated revenues well in excess of $50 million a year. So overall, he employed more than 100 people. And initially, I would strive to add value by assisting with marketing and communications and writing. But true to his word, Tim gave me considerable liberty to develop new business ideas that we could grow together. And when not working with his team, I thought about different markets or businesses we could launch, within this organization, or maybe build a new organization. So his corporate headquarters occupy the full floor of a 10-story office building, really in the high-rent district of Irvine, California. And while visiting one day my office where he assigned me to work, he asked me what I felt passionate about creating. And I hope by this stage, after 26 episodes of Success After Prison and more than 220 episodes of the Earning Freedom podcast, I hope you know what I'm passionate about. Passionate about helping guys in prison and jail and people who live in struggle. I'm passionate about showing the strategies that I learned from masterminds, because I have no doubt they can change lives. And I mean, I can't change their life, but an individual can change their life if they can learn those same strategies. I learned those strategies. And so when Tim asked me the question, I just told him I like to inspire people and to help them grow so that they know how to overcome obstacles, so they develop their own tool sets, so they know what to do. And he certainly, he was supportive of that. And as we spent more time together, I convinced Tim that a market existed. I'm always striving to show people where we can add value, what we can do. And potentially the market could even be big enough to attract an investor like him. I mean, in truth, if a business didn't offer the potential to generate revenues at least $10 million a year, Tim wouldn't waste time discussing it. Yeah, I believed a massive market existed for products that I could create, and I just hoped that he would see it as well. And so I told him, if we taught strategies to break limiting beliefs, we'd have a product that would serve every human being on the planet. And although prison provided the context of my journey, I told Tim, my message, this message, it isn't only for prisoners. It's about overcoming struggle. And that message has much broader implications. So at some point during the journey of life, every individual experiences struggle. And too frequently, those struggles, they derail an individual's sense of confidence or hope or meaning. But people who experience challenges that included financial reversals, divorce, obesity, business, career complications, they live with misery. That's a huge pain point for them. And I believe that if we could create products and services in a digital format, we could build something that truly scales, that truly helps people overcome challenge, whatever that challenge may be. And those conversations led to Tim asking me questions about, what I had in mind. I mean, he was more than an employer to me. I considered Tim a friend and a mentor. And as we spoke, I really wanted him to partner with me in building a new business, one that didn't relate to the reasons he brought me down from San Francisco to work with him, but one that would really help me I guess, help me satisfy this inner thirst I have, this inner hunger that I have to contribute to the lives of people who need to be inspired, people who need to recognize that they can change their life, that they have the power within to do it. And my idea was to expand upon this entire earning freedom concept that I wrote about in this book, Earning Freedom, Conquering a 45-Year Prison Term. But since few people could ever imagine serving decades in prison, and few people would expect anyone to emerge from a lengthy stint in prison successfully, I wanted to use this story to inspire others. I wanted to create products and services that would teach other people these same strategies that I've been talking with you about for the past 26 episodes, the strategies that I learned from masterminds. I mean, I did it with the Straight A Guide. I'd create curriculums and under the Earning Freedom brand, just as I did with the Straight A Guide. But instead of focusing only on the prison system, I wanted to create these digital types of products for both end users and for institutions. And, Tim was supportive of that. He said, just do what you want to do. Focus on the business you want to build. Just know that ideas take time to develop. Nothing happens overnight. So with Tim's support, I started. Before I could create a revenue stream, I needed to create a resource that would encourage more people to believe in me. So because although the written word was great, I learned many lessons about society since my release from prison. And for one thing, attention spans are shorter. Rather than reading lengthy books, many people prefer to gather information through audiobooks and videos. And I was exploring different digital platforms like audiobooks and videos. And when I was doing that, right in that process, I received a call from Deputy Warden Michael Tausig. He was from the state of Maine's prison system. And in the next podcast, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what transpired after I had that first conversation with Deputy Warden Tausig. Right now, I just want to close this episode with a suggestion for those of you who are watching. Again, I want to challenge you and think creatively, critically. Think about your environment. Think about where you are. And think about what resources are available to you right now. You don't have to wait for somebody else to give them to you. What resources are available to you right now so that when the time comes, when the opportunity opens, whether it's while you're still in custody or still in a difficult situation or after you've come back to society, what can you do right now to position yourself for a more successful outcome? Because the decisions we make every single day, have a direct relationship on our prospects for success. That's what I'm always striving to share through these messages. And it's my hope that you find them and you embrace them, but more than that, you act upon them. Right now, after you finish this video or after you finish listening to this podcast, if you're on the CD program or whatever you're doing, write down what resources are around me. What resources can I use to advance my life? And if you don't know the answer to that, then what do you think I would suggest that you do? If you don't know the answer to that, start asking Socratic questions. Start thinking about the people you want to meet in the future, the people you want to believe in you. I want you to find somebody like Tim who will invest in you and give you an opportunity to reach your potential. What can you do today to earn Tim's trust so that somebody like Tim will tell you, I invest in people and I want to invest in you? If you can do that, then you are truly going to begin to become the master of your destiny. And that's when you feel this sense of fulfillment and gratitude, because you know the walls and the struggle are not what defines you. It's rather the way that you've responded to it that defines you. And I'm really hoping that you find that path. I'm really hoping that you can position yourself for success. I'll be back with another episode on success after prison, and I'll be sharing how this program developed after that initial phone call with Deputy Warden Michael Tausig. If you want to listen to earlier episodes and you're out here in society, you can get it from any of my social media. As I said, please rate and review or subscribe to the programs. Do us that favor. Like me on Facebook. Join our community of working to help people in prison emerge successfully. If you'd like a copy of the book so you don't have to listen to all the episodes, simple. Just log on to my website, enter your email address so it'll automatically be sent to you in a digital format. And of course, you can order the books through my websites, michaelsantos.com or prisonprofessor.com, and you can also get them, of course, from Amazon. I'm hoping that you find some value in this message. I am Michael with michaelsantos.com, host of the Earning Freedom Podcast and host of Success After Prison. We'll be back with another inspiring episode, or at least I hope you find it inspiring. Thanks. I'm Michael. Bye-bye.